You are listening to the Centaku Media Podcast, a source for sharing interests beyond the scope of anime because we're in the center of other otaku interests. Hey everyone, this is Sanjo-chan. I am your host of the Centaku Media Podcast. This is episode 7 of the Centaku Media Journal, and it is the week of August 2nd, 2020. And with that said, we've finally made it to August, and I know it's been a really interesting year, so I don't need to say more, right? And of course, depending on what part of the world you're in, it's like gonna get a little longer. 2020 is gonna last a little longer for us, so we just gotta hang in there and be safe, so that way we can get into 2021 and 2022 with positive outlooks, right? Also, with that said, I finally had a week off from work, so which might explain why this episode will be late. So I didn't start recording this intro until Monday, and I usually have this recorded by Friday or Saturday, but had things to do, had to basically take care of myself, and also haven't streamed on Twitch as of recording this, because I started streaming on Twitch again. And for those that are not aware of the Centaku Media Twitch channel, you can check it out at twitch.tv/Centaku Media. It used to be Centaku-chan, but now it's Media. So that way every name is unified with social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So you can follow Centaku Media on those leading sites. And also, with that said, I'm also into Final Fantasy XIV again. I finally made it to Stormblood. And I'm, for those that have been paying attention on the blog, that I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV on and off for about 5 years now. And of course, when I relaunched Centaku Media, I got a Twitch channel too, and I streamed it for a little bit. And then, pretty much most of last year, I did streaming of it. I finally got to Heavensward content back in, I guess, May of last year, and my goal was to try to finish Stormblood before Shadowbringers came out, but that didn't happen. So I had to quit. I lost momentum, and I had to quit for another reason, so that way I could get a second source of income as far as gig work is concerned, and fund my trip for South Korea. So that's why I had to quit, and I didn't come back until a couple of months ago, actually. Even though I should have come back sooner, but, work was starting to get to me, I need to do something else. I need to, limit my social interactions. I know it sounds weird, considering that you're not supposed to be really social, but, it's an online game, so you gotta be social one way or another, so. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I'm doing a really good job right now. I'm 45 quests into the pool of 120 of the base content, so yay. So I'll be posting another Erosa journal very soon, chronicling, can't English, I hope I pronounced that right, but yeah, I'll be basically going over what I've been doing so far, where I'm at the story. I'll probably be further ahead by the time you listen to this, so I'll keep everyone updated on what's going on. Anyway, moving on, so with this going on, having taken a vacation and stuff, I had time to think about where I want to do my podcast moving forward. So everything is going to stay the same as of right now. And with this being the 7th episode, I'm actually accomplished. I'm in a very accomplished mood right now because I made it to episode 7 of the Centaku Media Journal, and not stopping at 2 or 3 when I first started podcasting 10 years ago. And the fact that I made it as far as, I got so much in store now. And I guess I will, with the 7th episode released so far, I guess I will share a little bit about the listenership. And I know it's been kind of, considering it's a new podcast and me needing to promote it more on my end, it's so far had over 50 listens. And I know that's not much, but that's still an accomplishment, the fact that it's had that much so far. So thank you so much for sticking around rather. And I hope you stick around even longer, even though what I'm about to say next it'll be a little disappointing, but also, I mean, it's not too disappointing, but it's actually going to be some benefits coming out of this. So, for those that are just tuning in, I post this Centaku Media Journal every 2 weeks. So, of course, this week is the episode that's due, and I know the monthly series, I post that every last Wednesday of the month. So last month, in July, we had 5 Wednesdays. So, yeah, so last Wednesday was the monthly episode, but the week before that was episode 6 of the journal. So now you're getting 3 episodes every week in that window. So, I mean, 1 episode every week in that window for these past 3 weeks. So, yay, more content. But also, with that said, and just considering with the way everything's been this year, I think I deserve a little break. So, the next episode, which is normally due on August 19th. There will be no episode on August 19th. So, I'm going to be taking a little break from the Centaku Media Journal, but the episode for August is still on schedule. I just got to actually record the content for it, and actually by me doing that, it'll buy me some time on perfecting it. Because apparently I'm a perfectionist, and that's kind of the way I am, as far as getting content. I guess that's why I didn't pursue podcasting further 10 years ago until now, considering the situation in the world. But, right, so by me skipping an episode of the Centaku Media Journal, I will make sure episode 4 of the monthly series will be of the top quality. And also, don't give me time to watch Code Geass, or Geese, I don't know, Code Geass. Let's say Geass, because I've been pronouncing it wrong probably, but that was an episode I chose, that was chosen to me. 2 episodes ago, I asked people who read the blog to choose what anime series I could review for an upcoming episode of the journal. Not the journal, but the monthly episodes, and Code Geass was selected, so I'm still trying to watch my way through it, but I've also kind of disconnected. Besides me playing games, I kind of like haven't really watched anything, so I'm like trying to focus on 14, trying to focus on way too many things, so that's another reason why I'm taking a break. So this will be the only episode of the journal for August, but Centaku Media Journal will be back in September. So, of course, you got the Wednesday the 5th or the 7th, depending on who pays attention to it. This will be the only episode this month, and then there will be no episode on August 19th. But the next episode will be on September 2nd, which will be episode 8. So, look forward to that. Actually, I just realized that there's actually 5. No. Okay, never mind. Never mind, Sanjo-chan. There are 4 Wednesdays in August. Never mind. I thought there were 5 there for a minute there. But that does mean, since it's the last Wednesday of the month, that does mean that there will be back-to-back episodes of the podcast come the 26th of August and the 2nd of September. So, 1 week you got an episode, next week you got an episode, and then, of course, there's a 16th, and so on September 30th there will be 2 episodes. So, gotta get to planning, so that's why I'm going to be using my break to try to plan out what I need to talk about for the September episode. But I think I have an idea what I want to talk about for this month, and I really should be recording these beforehand. That way to make everything easier for everyone. So, I know I'm still a rookie, so give me a little credit where it's due as far as productivity. And like I'm even surprised I've gotten this far into this. So like, yay! So I need to celebrate somehow. So to celebrate, I'm going to take a break. So I've rambled on long enough about this, so I'm sure you understand. So no episode. So enjoy this last episode for the next month, and I know this will probably be a slow news cycle coming up until September, because September is basically the beginning of fall, so there will be a lot of stuff to talk about concerning September. And speaking of which, I think I've said all I've said for the intro, so we're about to go into our main event where we cover news from the world of the anime, gaming, and entertainment industries. So, stay tuned. But before we get into that, here is a word from our sponsor. Alright, welcome to the main segment of the Centaku Media Journal for episode 7, and as always, we go into anime news, followed by gaming and entertainment news from the world of K-pop and J-pop, and also the occasional offbeat news. I don't know if I have any offbeat news this week, but I do have like a lot of everything in between for our 3 main segments. And to kick off our episode, I do want to revisit a news story that I mentioned during Anime Expo Light of an anime that is under the supervision of Production I.G and Adult Swim. So there was Adult Swim Con recently, which to be honest, I totally forgot all about, but then again, I'm like, I'm just trying to, take in less information as I can, at the same time trying to gather enough information to cover the podcast. But basically, like, I purposely forgot it because I'm like, I just need the rest. Because I know I've been burnt out with Anime Expo Light and at that rather E3 centric news from the other day. But I think next time I got an idea of how to cover this without burning myself out like I did. But anyway, so the anime in question during the Toonami panel, or panel in quotes as this article talks about, that anime that Production IG rather teased during Adult Swim Con is actually Crunchyroll is involved with this. Crunchyroll's involved with this, called Fena Pirate Princess, which is slated to be released in 2021. So during the Toonami panel airing on Cartoon Network during the Adult Swim Con online event, announced the new Crunchyroll Originals anime Fena Pirate Princess in collaboration with Adult Swim on Sunday. Crunchyroll and Adult Swim co-production will air on Adult Swim's Toonami block and will stream on Crunchyroll in 2021. The description of the series via Crunchyroll: Fena Pirate Princess is a 12-episode original anime series that tells the tale of a young orphan girl, Fena Houtman, or Houtman, depending on how you want to say it. Fena has been raised on an island where there is no hope of becoming anything more than a chattel, or if I pronounce that correctly, to be used and discarded by soldiers of the British Empire. But Fena is more than just another powerless orphan. When her mysterious past comes knocking, Fena will break down the chains of her oppressors. Her goal: forge a new destiny, free of bondage, and search for a place where she can truly belong and find out the true mysteries behind a keyword Eden. It is a story of a lifetime adventure. Well, it is a story of a lifetime adventure she and her crew of misfits and unlikely allies will have in pursuit of her goals. Kazuto Nakasawa of Be the Beginning, Blood Plus, and Parasite Dolls is directing the series at Production I.G. So, there is another Crunchyroll Originals anime to look forward to. Well, at least for 2021, because right now we got some heavy hitters out this year. So we had Tower of God, which is, that y'all know, is based on a webtoon. And also, we got God of High School, which is currently airing on Crunchyroll. Which, by the way, I have posted my channel surfing article highlighting the first 3 episodes of the show. So if you're interested in checking out The God of High School, it is on the blog, centakumedia.com. It's also in the show notes for a quick link through for those that are on mobile. And also, of course, it'll be in the description on my Instagram account, which is centakumedia.com/networks, which has like a quick links to everything mentioned on social media, just so that when you want to browse around. And I got some more details to go over as far as centakumedia.com is concerned, but of course this is still the anime news segment, so to move on to our next one. So this one involves a man that threatened Kodansha staff on Twitter over a novel submission. So, of course, considering the tragic offense of the Kyoto Animation Studio arson attack, a lot of manga and anime companies, they're being more vigilant as far as submitters, or rather content creators, independent content creators, not as far, as blogging is concerned, but, just story ideas. Because, we don't want that happening again. So in this instance, police from Tokyo's Osuka neighborhood arrested a 44-year-old male suspect last Friday after he alleged a death threat to Kodansha employees on Twitter. The suspect stated in his deposition that he made the threat after his novel submissions kept being rejected after the first round of screenings, and he added that he never meant to carry out the threat. The suspect, an Okinawan resident, allegedly named Kodansha specifically on Twitter on May 14th, threatening to smash their heads in with a hammer and chop them up with a cleaver, go to the editorial department and tear them up and riddle them with holes and stab the entire editorial department. And of course, the company Kodansha notified of the threats in end of May. So, yeah, we don't want that. Like, he apparently, he never meant to carry out the threat, but he threatened them anyway. I'm like, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it at all. But, of course, considering with the times that we're in, it's just, better to be safe than sorry. So Kodansha, of course, was well in the right to report him. And I'm guessing the reason why they even rejected it, they don't have any more. I couldn't find any more information on the story, but I'm guessing with novel submissions, the way they are now post Kyoto Animation, it's just that, we're not going to do this in the public anymore because of stuff like this. So, yeah, be careful out there, content producers. It's just, getting really ridiculous as far as people looking for original story. It's just, really sad that people are resorting to threats when they don't have their way. So, moving on, this one's exciting. So, actually, I'm going to check this to make sure if this is like outside of Japan, because I was actually thinking about this the other day, of a particular song that I'm trying to, so it is on here. Okay, so just to prove my point, so those have Spotify, or any music service for that matter, especially outside of Japan. I'm guessing, I don't know if this outside of Japan includes just Spotify or what. But anyway, so for those that are looking to listen to more anime music via Spotify, just, if they don't have access to it physically, or by MP3 or for whatever means, Spotify now has songs, or rather OSTs, from Cowboy Bebop, Vision of Esclaflowne, and Kogias on Amazon Music, Unlimited /HD, Apple Music, AWA, which is a streaming service in Japan and not Anime Weekend Atlanta, Google Play Music, KKBox, Line Music, More Qualitas, Rec Music, Rakuten Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, and Aniuta. So, if you have any of those services, at least 3 of those services outside of Japan, then you can listen to music from Cowboy Bebop, Esclaflowne, and Kogias. And just to give you a preliminary list of what to expect, especially for those who enjoy music from Cowboy Bebop, here is what they have available for streaming. So for Cowboy Bebop, of course, is the original soundtrack, Fundamentalist, No Disc Original Soundtrack 2, Original Soundtrack 3 Blue, Knocking on Heaven's Door Ask DNA, Knocking on Heaven's Door OST Future Blues, and Tank the Best. So if you're interested in Cowboy Bebop music, drop everything now. Listen to this podcast first, but I'm pretty sure you're probably listening to this on Spotify right now. But be sure to check them out, and there's another list available to check out on the Crunchyroll article, which will be in the show notes for those that are interested in Esclaflowne and Kogias music. Also, City Hunter. There's been one album from the City Hunter show. I don't have that in my show notes right now, but yes, it's also available. Also Betterment and Brain Powered. So yeah, that's like over close to 600 theme songs to choose from on Spotify now. So yay! Here's to more anime and even just Japanese music in general on Spotify. So anyway, speaking of digital services, so Retro Crush, which is a new on-demand video streaming service that shows older anime series that you've probably never seen before, that probably hasn't been released in the US yet. So the parent company Digital Media Rights, or DMR, announced that it has launched a free ad-supported television, or FAST, version of its Retro Crush streaming service. In addition to Retro Crush, the company launched its Midnight Pulp and Cine House channels in the FAST format on the Stir streaming service. That's STIRR, for those that don't know. The channel on Stir is currently streaming The Memories, Appleseed, and Lupin III, The Legend of the Gold Babylon anime films. DMR also launched Asian Crunch, Kokoro, KMTV, Midnight Pulp, and UU TV channels as its first linear FAST channels through the Samsung TV Plus platform earlier this year. Retro Crush is a free ad-supported video-on-demand service available in the US and Canada. The service also has apps on the service has apps on iOS, Android, Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, and smart TVs, in addition to being available on browsers. And as I mentioned before, having launched earlier this year, which was in March, they started with 12 titles and added 8 anime titles in June, and they added 10 new titles in July. For those that just want to watch anime on their TV, especially on their smart TVs, and you now have access to it via Retro Crush. So be sure to check it out. I know it's going to be a lot of fun exploring the anime titles of years past. Of course, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about old anime series, but I know one exception for me is the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. So if you're interested in some old school titles, then that's the place to be. Anyway, so we're done with our anime news segment, but going into our gaming news segment, so we have another huge event coming up that could have happened in real time at a physical location, but considering that 2020 is pretty much canceled, the Tokyo Game Show is moving online. So, for those that are wanting to get their fix of Japanese gaming, they are working their online show in conjunction with Amazon. So the association, of course, back in May announced that they're canceling due to situations beyond their control, which I'm not going to say because it's pretty freaking obvious on why it's not happening. But the Tokyo Game Show online will be held from September 23rd to September 27th on their website, as well as a special Amazon website that will host the event, as well as a special sponsors page. There's more to look forward to as far as that announcement is concerned. And so I think instead of me covering everything from the Tokyo Game Show, I might do a separate episode, depending on how much we get or if there's anything newsworthy to talk about that surpasses my limit of getting for the number of articles I have to get to talk about in an episode. So we'll see how that happens. But of course, I've got time to plan that out because this is the last episode for a month. So episode 8 of the journal, of course, will be back at the beginning of September. But we'll get to the details towards the end of the show. So the next article details of the patch 5.3 Reflections of Crystal content for Final Fantasy XIV, and of course this was originally supposed to be released back in towards the end of May, early June, but of course with 2020 being cancelled, it got pushed back to August 11th. So for those that are more up to date with, or at least about to be up to date, including myself, of Final Fantasy XIV content, the letter from the producer content highlighted the events. Well, not really events, but contents of the upcoming patch. So a lot of the details include a new main scenario quest, new tribe quests involving the doors with focuses on crafting, new Chronicles of a New Era quest, which is the Sorrow of Warlet, new instance dungeon, which includes the Hero's Gauntlet, two new mystery trials, which is shrouded in question marks and includes a normal version and an extreme version of the trial. And of course, there's more Nier Automata content for those who are fans of Nier, and of course, Final Fantasy XIV has had their Nier collaboration event. So the new content includes Yorha Dark Apocalypse, the second chapter, which includes the Puppets bunker. I almost said Muppets, and they're like, no, that will be funny. But no, it was Muppets, that'll be funny. But but I'm just saying. But anyway, the batch also includes the revamped content of A Realm Reborn, which includes flying areas instead of your usual ground areas. So to get around in A Realm Reborn content, which involves like going around all the Thanalan, the Black Shroud, and all those good stuff. So instead of using a ground mount, you can use a flying mount now. So that will save you a lot of time, and also for those that like to explore things from afar, then that'll be a good opportunity to check it out. And of course, they've been talking about revamping A Realm Reborn content for years, so this might be like the first step in actually making A Realm Reborn tolerable in an effort to get to Heavensward, Stormblood, and now Shadowbringers, which is what the patch will incorporate with the Shadowbringers content we have so far. But in addition to everything I've said so far, we also have Unreal Trials and Faux Hollows, and the Resistance Weapon Quest updates are 5.35, which includes a final step in upgrading weapons. And there's going to be a 72-player instance called the Borjan Southern Front, or Borsan, or Borshan. Oh, you know how Final Fantasy XIV have these weird names, and apparently I've been pronouncing some of the characters' names wrong. Like, apparently I've been pronouncing Alphinaud's name wrong all this time when I used to live stream 14, which was like last year. And of course, I made a meme out of myself, which you can see on the Instagram account, and I will link to it in the show notes for those that want a little bit of a chuckle. But anyway, the 72-player instance, the Borjan's Southern Front, the goal is to battle the 4th Imperial Legion to raise, quote-unquote, metal. With enough metal, you can raise your resistance strength to help the front line push forward and storm the Castrum Lacus Litore, or whatever you pronounce it. So, 72 players, so that'll be really fun to go through, and it'll probably be forever before I even get the chance to experience that. So, something to look forward to for those that are really into the game. And also, lastly, we have the Yokai Watch event, which is actually the return of an event that occurred last year. This one is called Gather One, Gather All, and it will return on August 19th. It will be available until the release of patch 5.4. This time, it will be updated with new weapons and minions and a Jibanian mount. So, for those that are much further ahead in Shadowbringers, look forward to all of those, and I'm pretty sure by the time, it'll probably be like mid-October by the time I get to any of these, or at least early November. I am currently in the middle of Stormblood content, finally, because, pretty much for most of last year, me taking a break, and then for the last month, I've been grinding through Heavensward content, but I'm finally in Stormblood. And as I speak, I'm like 45 quests in out of 120. And of course, after that, I got 40 more quests or post-Stormblood content to go through before I actually get to Shadowbringers. So I'm really looking forward to what Shadowbringers has to offer. And I'm also really, really enjoying the storyline and the game as a whole, especially Stormblood. I honestly think Heavensward was a little but towards the end was actually really enjoyable. But yes, I'm really looking forward to catching up. Speaking of Final Fantasy content, so for those that are familiar with the Final Fantasy fan event, KupoCon, they're a Final Fantasy convention, an unofficial Final Fantasy convention, which, normally has events in various parts of the world. I think they're based in Europe, but they do have conventions in the US, Canada, and the UK. I think they've had an event in Canada, in Quebec, last year, I think. And I think they had one in Vancouver or something like that. And they've had one in New Jersey, I think, not too long ago. But anyway, yeah, they actually put an effort to have a Final Fantasy convention in whatever parts of the world that demand it. So they have nothing to do with Square Enix. Just a put that out there. But I think Square Enix is aware of their presence. So, but anyway, so they're having an event called the Crystals, which is an award event that honors the best of Final Fantasy, and they have 25 categories highlighted that everyone can vote on. Of course, I think 5 of them actually involve the event itself. So if you've attended a KupoCon event, and if that category applies to you, so be sure to vote for it. But otherwise, you can just ignore it. They even tell you to ignore it because it just, wouldn't make sense if you just vote randomly for them. The categories I have just to talk about, because it's like I said, it's 25 of them. I'm only highlighting 3. So we have the best Final Fantasy title, which, of course, includes 10, 7, 14, 15, 9, 7, 4, and 8 for the best main title entry. And, of course, this is probably everyone's favorite poll, or category, rather. This is everyone's favorite category. Actually, I'm getting excited, so I'm sorry if I'm, stammering. So, one of the categories I want to, talk about is for best male voice actor in the series so far. At least from 10 on up, because, Final Fantasy games, save for 7 Remake, hasn't had voice acting. So, the category, well, I kind of want to, lead it in. So, how do I want to explain this? So, the nominees for best voice actor, best male voice actor, let's just say Cloud is on the list, which surprised me. But what also surprised me is that a character I would never ever expect to see on there, or maybe I would expect to see it on there, maybe in addition to Cloud. But the fact that Cloud is not even on there is shocking. So I'm just gonna explain who's up for grabs. So we got the voice of Ignis, which is Adam Crossdale. We have the voice of Arden, Darren DePaul. We have James Arnold Taylor as Tidus. John Eric Bentley as Barrett. We have Ray Chase as Noctis. I'm going to save the character for last, so this is build up the suspense. We have Gordon Emery as Balthier from 12, and we have the voice of Prompto, Robbie Damon. And the character in question is Auron, who is voiced by Matt McKenzie, which freaking shocked me because I did not expect Auron to be on there at all, because considering I'm a big Auron fangirl, I am so bitter with every little thing Square Enix has done to suppress his chances of getting any kind of notoriety. I'm so bitter about them with the Dissidia thing, because Auron had potential to be in a Dissidia game, whether it was Dual Date Sim or the NT series, which I actually wrote about that, his possible inclusion in Dissidia NT, but maybe a month or 2 after I published that, Square Enix said, no, we're done with Dissidia NT. And I'm like, are you serious? But, yes, I'm a big Auron fangirl. For those that are familiar with 10, and you can tell why, you probably understand why I'm a big fan of him, because it's just, out of all the characters in the game, I really enjoyed Auron the most. And actually, I wrote a post about him a long time ago, which I'm just going to post it and talk about it later in the episode, because it will be out here all day talking about him. But yes, I did not expect Auron to be on there, and also what's surprising is that Cloud's not on there, whose voice, I don't know who voices him off the top of my head in the remake. But yes, I'm really excited that he's on the list. But of course, Ignis, Adam Crossdale, he's probably likely to win, but even if he wins, I have no problem with that, because that's also what tore me up about this, is because both Ignis and Oren are on the poll, and that also includes the popularity poll, not just for voice actor, but just for favorite character. So I had a really hard time deciding, but of course I'm biased with 10, even though I really enjoy 15. I'm biased with 10, so everything is mostly 10 centric. So that wasn't really hard, but like I said, if Ignis wins, I have no problem with that, because Adam Crossdale did a very good job at portraying Ignis, and it's worth the win if he does. But like, still, like, why do you have to put him up in the same category? But anyway, for the last category I have highlighted here, and that's the reason why I only highlighted 3, because I know I'd be gushing about that for a while. For best female voice actors, we have Nicole Fanto, who voiced Fran in 12. We have Tara Strong as Riku in 10. Brianna White as Eris in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Rachel Robinson as Fang in 13. Ailey Hillis, who played Lightning in 13. Robin Addison, who's the voice of Fishola in 14. Haiti Burgess, who's the voice of Yuna in 10. And Britt Baron, the voice of Tifa in the remake. So those are the nominations for Best Female Actress. So you can check out the full details on KupoCon's The Crystals page on their website, which will be in the show notes. So if you're interested in making your voice heard, be sure to check it out. And polls are open until 30 days from the 28th of July. So you have that much time left from whenever you hear this episode. But if you hear it after August, then it's probably closed at this point. But be sure to check out the list from the show notes. Also, what else do I have to talk about? Actually, no, that's it for this one. So yes, there are a lot of categories to check out, and a lot of nominees to go through. So look forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun to see who wins. They will announce the winners following the close of the polls, and of course they're gonna have a whole ceremony event on their Facebook page, on their Facebook Live, and of course I guess they're gonna like go all out with like video presentations of the winners accepting their award and all that stuff. So look forward to that. But anyway, moving on, we got 2 more game stories. Well, actually 3 more. One of them is going to segue into our entertainment news. But before I get too further into that, so we got a new game coming up, which I was hinted at on Instagram about. And I've also been streaming Jet Set Radio. So for those unfamiliar with Jet Set Radio, it's a game, an underrated game that was released by Sega back during the Dreamcast era, about 99-2000, so it's been a good 20 years since it's been released, and of course they've had a sequel, Jet Set Radio Future. So, Sega since has re-released Jet Set Radio on almost every system imaginable. I think they released it on iOS and Android at one point, but I think they removed it because it's just old, I guess. I don't know, they just never bothered updating it, so they just removed it. Or it's rather unsupported on the modern mobile devices. But it's on Steam, and I think it's on PS3 for those that still have a PS3. But I have it on Steam, so I've been playing it on Steam with PS4 controller support, so it's all good. But they have not re-released Jet Set Radio Future or any game in the series since Jet Set Radio Future, so they just pretty much abandoned it. But there's been a movement, like online, there's a Twitter account called Professor K that retweets every single mission of Jet Set Radio, and even I talked about it, and it retweeted one of my tweets concerning Jet Set Radio. So that's how big the following it has. But Sega is just not listening. So with Sega not listening, there's someone going to make a game that's inspired by Jet Set Radio called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. So there's an article on Kotaku that highlights the trailer for the game called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. And it's going to be due out in 2021, and it's being developed by a group called Team Reptile. And with icing on the top, it's going to feature the music of Hideki Naganuma, who is the composer of Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future. So good times are to be had. So I'm like really looking forward to this. But you know what? There's also another game that's also inspired by Jet Set Radio called Hover. I almost said Hoover, but I said no. That's not the same thing, Sanjo. Yes, that's a game called Hover, which I do have. I think it's on Switch, and it was re-released eventually for Switch and PS4. So I do have that game. I do like to play. I would like to play it in the very near future. So that's one game to look forward to until Bomb Rush Cyberpunk comes out. But I'm really looking forward to it. If Sega won't do anything about it, so well, we will. And I'm actually, it's really exciting that Hideki is going to be involved with the music, because he's also a big fan of the game, because he's also active on Twitter, and he also retweets anything JSR related. So that's one game to look forward to. And again, it's due out in 2021, so I will keep up on any updates involving the game development here on Centaku Media. So, to highlight our last article of the gaming news segment, so the game I mentioned back during when Square Enix had some of their news highlights, that was in lieu of E3. I think there's some more news expected this month. But there's this game called Project Atheia, which they've said it will be an open world game. They didn't say any more details at the time, but now we know that it's going to be an open world game, and it's being developed for the PS5 and PC. And the details from the article concerning Project Atheia being an open world game is this: with the PlayStation 5, we have been able to add better light reflections with ray tracing technology, as well as increase the graphical capabilities to the point where even comparing it to the PC screens, there are barely any differences. We have harnessed this feature to create something stunningly detailed. And they also plan to balance out game development on titles that fit our company's characteristics, including smartphone games and cloud games. We will definitely not give up development for high-end consoles like the PS5 and other ones, because these are the forefront of technology. And also, apparently this was also announced in a separate article at the time when details about Project Atheia was released. So, Gary Whitta, who's a screenwriter, he is on the games writing team lead, as a games writing team lead. He was also a PC gamer editor-in-chief, and he was involved as a writer on Telltale projects like The Walking Dead, the game, and he also worked on the scripts of After Earth, The Book of Eli, and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So, I also previously predicted that Project Atheia is like a low-key new Final Fantasy title. The fact that it's Project Atheia, considering what Final Fantasy 13, or Versus 13 rather, went through, they eventually turned it into 15. But of course, the reason why that was because they took too long in development on Versus 13, so they pretty much just they scrapped the Fabula Nova Crystallis project and said, we're just going to make this into a mainline Final Fantasy title. So maybe Project Atheia, just looking at it, looks more to be like a Western-based game. So, in other words, this could be like a low-key Eidos title, because, Square Enix purchased Eidos, so a lot of the games that were under Eidos, like Tomb Raider and Hitman, they're under Square Enix, so it's kind of confusing. So when you see Hitman as a Square Enix title, like, what the heck? So, that's really confusing. So this could be like an Eidos title in actuality, but I'm still going to think it's a Final Fantasy 16. But, who knows, we've seen the Final Fantasy franchise take a different approach, different approaches to the storyline, to the environment, and all that stuff. So this could be an actual Final Fantasy type, but I don't know. It could be an actual original game, but we'll see. So we got quite a bit of time to see how this pans out. So yes, Project Atheia, an open world game. I'll keep an eye out on any developments. I'm still going to call it that it's going to be a Final Fantasy 16, but we'll see. Alright, so we're done with our gaming news segment, but to segue into entertainment, there's been a lot of mystery in the last week or two concerning G4, and for those that don't remember or don't know, G4 was a 24-hour gaming centric network that had a lot of gaming related shows, obviously. And of course, the biggest shows on there at the time was Attack of the Show, which was actually on Tech TV, and I think they eventually turned into G4 and G4 and Tech TV merged into one as just G4. So they kind of like started showing a mixture of things. They had anime on there. I think they had Rasifan on there at one point, but they just had like a lot of pop culture shows that would be, centric to gamers and that light. So on their Twitter account, they teased that the channel will return in 2021, but they didn't say any more details on like what form or shape that the network is going to be as. Maybe it's going to be like a subscription only service, maybe like a stir kind of deal, like with Retro Crush, like I mentioned earlier. And of course, for those that want to know more about G4, it was ended in 2014, and of course, NBC Universal was going to rebrand it as Esquire, but the South Network was rebranded instead, and they just killed off G4 completely. But the Canadian G4 counterpart was still on the air until September 2017. So let's see what this turns out to be. So it might be like a free over-the-air TV deal, maybe like a Pluto TV, which is also another free streaming service that you can check out like on your phone or your Fire Stick or whatever. A TV that's capable of receiving apps. We'll see. But moving on, this is actually technically more of a anime music news, but it's still under entertainment because it involves J-pop. So TM Revolution and Golden Bomber's Kirisho is going to take over the Japanese Pokemon Journeys TV opening theme. So on July 30th, it was announced that TM Revolution and Kirisho of Golden Bomber will be taking over the After the Rain singing of the opening theme to the Japanese version of the latest Pokemon Journeys, or rather the latest Pokemon anime series, Pokemon Journeys. Their rendition of 1, 2, 3 under the band name Nishikawa-kun to Kirisho, or Nishikawa-kun and Kirisho, To and, will debut on episode 32 of the series when it airs on TV Tokyo on August 9th. It was reported that multiple people would sing Mafu Mafu's composition, with After the Rain being the first band to perform the song. Now, Takanori Nishikawa, aka Team Revolution, and Kirisho will be taking the baton from Mafu Mafu and Sararu, rearranging the single, putting their own mark on it. Nishikawa wondered, why ask me when he was first requested to do the song? But after learning the request came from Mafu Mafu himself, he decided to accept the request and keep the song in good care. So, yay, more TM Revolution going. And also, it's worth to mention that I got the opportunity to see TM Revolution perform live at Otakon in 2017. Sadly, I did not take any pictures as they did not allow pictures of the event. I think it was during their Any Song Matsuri event at Otakon, because it was him, the Jam Project, and Flow, which I've talked about before that I had an opportunity to see, but I was up on the fence. I was on the fence about it, and I do not regret missing out on them because I knew they were gonna have like some other kind of separate tour other than just at Otakon, and they were originally gonna perform at Atlanta this year, but 2020 is a joke, so they're coming back next year, right? So, so yes. So yeah, I managed to get to see TM Revolution, and he was really good. And even at one point, I will say that he took off his shirt, and he looks good for his age. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So for those fangirls out there, yeah. So what you see, the rumors you heard were true, that he is actually pretty, he's well in shape. So anyway, moving on. So G-Dragon. So I know for those are into K-pop, G-Dragon, of course, he was recently released from the army earlier this year. And pretty much every single member of Big Bang is out of the army. Of course, we're not going to talk about Sungri because he's pretty much exempt because he's not even part of YG anymore. Also, with that said, I did post a review of YG Future Strategy Office. I'm just going to leave it for recommended reading, but basically it was a drama that Sungri starred in, which was kind of weird considering how he's acted so far. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. But anyway, G-Dragon, he teased a possible comeback on his Instagram account. Like, we don't know a lot of details about it, but just judging from the post he posted on Instagram, which included a few of a forest field mountainside, which looks very pretty from where he posted it. And then he also posted an up close shot of him with his pretty eyes, and he also posted a picture with him and his friends. I'm guessing they say friends, but it's probably staff. I mean, they're probably friends. He's probably friends with staff too. But his caption only shows a clapperboard, which is that thing you see when like the director's saying when they say, "Take this action." Yes, a clapperboard. For those that don't know what it is, so that was thrown about, and people were speculating whether he's making a solo comeback or a comeback as a group. And of course, Big Bang as a group, they were going to perform at Coachella before it got canceled. So it might be a group comeback, or might be just G-Dragon. Like, I won't be surprised if he releases a digital single before the end of the year. And also, I think his birthday is coming up too. I think August 8th. Actually, we might find out more details then. So, really looking forward to it. So, for those that are excited about a Big Bang comeback in any shape or form signed to one person, then look forward to it. And to close out our entertainment section and our podcast, we are going to talk about a K-drama that Koreaboo talked about that apparently is very popular right now on Netflix, but in Korea, probably not so much. So the drama of the year right now is called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. It's Okay to Not Be Okay. So apparently on Netflix, it's the top most watched show on Netflix in varying countries. However, domestically, the drama may not be doing so hot. The episode on July 19th saw ratings of 4.2% for the first half and for 5.4 for the latter, which would be rather low even for a cable channel, which is on TVN. It's okay not to be okay, really doing bad domestically. The recent post on the online community pointed out the low ratings, and many are divided on if the drama was of interest or not. Some pointed out that Kim Soo-hyun's subpar acting, while others just claim it wasn't fun. Those who enjoy it mostly watch the show through Netflix on their laptops rather than through TVN on their television, perhaps as it is not one you would want to consume in the living room with family. To put things in perspective, The World of Married's average rating was 18.8, and Crash Landing on You averaged 12.2 as well, despite being another Netflix hit. In their highest rated episode, The World of the Married hit over 28% in ratings even. In fact, It's Okay to Not Be Okay has been dropping in ratings steadily since the first episode, which had their highest ratings at 6.1%. Since then, numbers have been on a decline, with the latest episode being the lowest ever. On the other hand, the drama is doing phenomenally well overseas, with legions of fans of Seo Ye-ji's cruel yet lovable character Ko Moo-young. As we continue to watch over the season's hottest K-drama, will domestic ratings continue to drop, or will we see a revival a la Goblin, whose ratings rose dramatically from 6.3% to 18.7% between the first and last episodes? So that's what Koreaboo has reported on the show. I am actually very picky when it comes to K-drama, so I'm I'm curious to watch it, to check it out, but I need to finish what I started first, because I'm maybe 4 years behind on some K-dramas. Of course, I've been prioritizing anime more, and I know right now I'm trying to watch Code Geass, because that's one of the polls I had for the last 2 episodes of the podcast, and I wanted to review it for an upcoming episode of the monthly podcast, but of course, it's gonna take quite a bit of time, but it will come eventually. So I would like to do another K-drama review, but as I mentioned earlier with the G-Dragon story and Sungri, well, Sungri wasn't involved in the story, but when I mentioned Sungri, I debated on whether to post that article or review rather of YG Future Strategy Office because I wrote it right before all the stuff with Sungri happened, and I kind of shelved it for a little bit, but I went ahead and published it because I was satisfied with the way it was, but I posted some disclaimers on this guy was under the subject of controversy, but if you want to watch it, just, trade with Carlson. So, yeah, so yeah, that's one of the K-dramas I've finally reviewed for Centaku Media, so I think it's my first K-drama review ever, but I do plan on reviewing more in the future as soon as I catch up with my anime. But also, if you want to see more K-drama, by chance, if you want to see more K-drama on Centaku Media, I'm open for ideas or content pitches. So if you want to write for Centaku Media, which would be, for fun, of course, just hit me up on the contact form on centakumedia.com, which is podcast questions. I do plan on having more categories in the future that actually prioritize what kind of inquiries to be made. But yeah, just anything podcast related, just be sure to choose it, and I'll get back to you if it's a good idea. Or just if I don't get back to you at all, just be patient because I know things are a little crazy here, even though I'm finally going back to normal as far as, productivity between work and life balance and stuff. Well, mostly work because, work has just been, crazy for the past, 5 months now. So anyway, thank you for listening. This also concludes the whole segment, but of course, as always, if I made any mistakes, I will be sure to talk about it in the outro, which is coming up in a few moments. But first, here is a word from our sponsor. You've listened to the podcast, now read a blog. Check out the rest of Centaku Media, which features news, reviews, and observations written with a unique approach, catering to like-minded fans of anime and related subcultures. We love anime, but we also share beyond because we're in the center of other otaku media. If this is your mood, please follow along. Check out Centaku Media in the link of the show page or go to centakumedia.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Centaku Media. Welcome back to episode 7 of the Centaku Media Podcast. This is where we say our goodbyes, and if I have any addendums, I'll mention it here. And the reason I was chuckling there as I was talking was because this is my 5th take on recording this, although I haven't recorded too much into it, but I was just thinking of some of the pronunciations I made while I was recording this. So if it sounds like I said one thing, I probably meant the other, so just keep that in mind. Yeah, so do a lot of that. I'm getting a little better at it. I'm really excited on getting better at this in the future. But also, with that said, the next episode of the Centaku Media Podcast won't be until September 2nd, which is the first Wednesday of the month. But it's also on schedule because 2 weeks from, this episode may or may not be late, but probably will be late if I'm recording this on August 7th, rather. The next episode is normally not due until August 19th, so August 2nd will be on schedule, so that'll be our next episode. So next Wednesday, on our usual podcast day, won't be an episode. There will be one on the following after Wednesday. So thank you for tuning in, and also I would like to make an announcement. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, or any of the following via Anchor.fm or on Anchor.fm, there's another source you can choose from now. So Centaku Media is now on Stitcher. So the link will be in the show notes for those that prefer Stitcher over whatever they are using to listen to this at the moment. But of course, we still have Anchor, so Anchor is still a primary source for hosting of the podcast. So Anchor is responsible for hosting this podcast, but of course, in case it goes under, I'll be sure to have backups of it. But right now, I do like the option of using Anchor to host a podcast, because that was one of my issues before, was that I wasn't sure if my hosting account would provide it, because it's one of those shared hosting accounts. And also be sure to check out CentakuMedia.com, which is where you'll find most of these articles I've mentioned. Also, in the show notes on the website, which you'll probably find through the description for this episode, I do have some recommended reading materials that I've mentioned in the episode for you to check out. And also, the website itself, though, I'm making some tweaks to it. So, instead of the 2009 style blog layout you saw before, now it's a proper splash page where you got options to jump to the blog or check out what other areas of Centaku Media that's available to you. But of course, this is a work in progress, but right now I like it where it is now, and I am open for suggestions of what you'd like to see on the website as far as articles too. So I'm open for contributors too, if you would like to contribute to the blog. It doesn't have to be a full-time job, and also I might make it to where, if you wanted to use AdSense on it, I can, but it's a work in progress, so I probably shouldn't make too many details about that right now. But yeah, if you would like to see something on Centaku Media, either the blog or podcast, be sure to use the contact form, which is also in the description on the website, and be sure to choose the appropriate category, so I'll get back to you. And if it's something that's podcast worthy, I'll also talk about it on an upcoming episode, depending on when I get it. And lastly, be sure to check out Centaku Media on Twitch. I started streaming again, although I haven't streamed in almost 2 weeks from when this episode hits, but I will be streaming in the future. And right now I don't have a set schedule, but I do plan on setting one soon for a specific game. But right now I'm just sporadically streaming Final Fantasy XIV and whatever game that comes my way. So be sure to follow Centaku Media on twitch.tv, and also be sure to check out Centaku Media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Centaku Media. And with that said, thank you for listening, and until next time, so long. I'll never forget this day.